Hello, all you gorgeous nerds out there. I'm the androgynous android game show host from the future, Nathan Blades, and I am hijacking this feed to drop some glittering tabletop knowledge onto you. This time, Session Zeros and what they can do for you. For those of you who aren't familiar, a Session Zero is a time where a play group can gather before their first actual play session in the story rolling dice to do additional setup and discussion about the game they're all going to play. If you've ever done character generation for a campaign as a group before, then you've already experienced something of a Session Zero. Yay, congratulations. But there is a whole lot more that you can do to get out of it that'll get everybody on the same page and ready to play. And I have 3 tips to help you get started. First up, have you ever tried writing a pitch document as a GM? Which sounds absurdly formal, but bear with me. In the world of broadcasting, and I have something of a broadcasting background, using pitch documents is essential for any new project to make it clear what everybody's going to be working together to create. The finer details might change a little bit as you work on the project, but the core idea is there. And even if you are not running an actual play tabletop RPG, it's really, really great to have. You'll want to include the really obvious things. So for example, stuff like the game system you're going to be running in and like the themes and genre of the game, but maybe include stuff like how many sessions you think the game is going to run, what kind of cool and exciting hooks are going to be happening in the game to get your players excited about experiencing this campaign with you. And if you're going to be scoping out new people for your game, what kind of player traits do you value in this kind of game experience? To give a quick example, I am currently streaming a tabletop RPG campaign called Arcana Core, run in City of Mist, and it's really heavily inspired by the Persona series of video games. So I put that in my pitch document, even though I would be inviting players that I already knew in person to play along. But it included stuff like highlighting that it's going to be really mystery focused and relatively low combat. It's going to be channeling really heavy anime themes and to think of the kind of like shonen energy when going into it, and that there would be really high drama into character moments. And the players that were really, really interested in that were really enthusiastic about those particular elements and exploring that in play. Cool. So our second idea that we're going to be talking about today is considering doing the world building as a group activity and not just leaving it for the GM to do. Some game systems actually code this into the rules directly. If you've ever played the Sprawl or Misspent Youth, both of those games have a facet during setup where everybody collaboratively comes together to describe the world. But those kind of ideas can actually be used in any system at all in any game. While I'm sure your game master, you as a game master, will have big ideas about the game's setting and lore, there's going to be a whole lot of minutiae that you've maybe not thought about yet. And why not let players contribute into filling in those gaps? For example, what are some locations or people in the game world that the players think would be neat to include or visit? What kind of rumors do you think the players would be really interested in exploring? You can ask them what rumors they want to see in the game world, and then you can incorporate it in your storyline, and they'll think of all sorts of things that you absolutely haven't. So it's taking your game world and game concept and thinking about it on a fresh angle. It's really, really good to do after everybody has already made their character, because then they can cement the places and people that are important to them, and you know that they're going to be so much more excited about the opportunity to visit something that they've actually made. And to be honest, because I'm also really lazy, it takes some of the load off me as a GM and you as a GM, as you don't have to have all that world ticking over in your brain or in a Google Doc somewhere. After all, you want your players to be just as invested in the world as you are, and being able to help them co-create that world will guarantee that. Okay, moving on to our final idea, I would like to talk a little bit about safety mechanics. You might already be familiar with stuff like lines and veils, or the X card, which are systems in place for highlighting the stuff of topics that you might want to fade to black and not have on camera, or having a hard line and not wanting included in your content at all, and the X card being able to have something physically in the room that players can touch to signify that they don't want to go and explore a particular topic, and you can wind things back and work around it. Those are really, really useful for determining way long before you actually start rolling dice the bits and pieces that your players might be uncomfortable with, and the other players will know that about the other players too, so everybody's aware. But the big brain play is using that to find out the things that your players are super excited about exploring, even though they are difficult topics. in a game like Misspent Youth, where you're fighting against the man, there's a lot of fascist themes and fighting against fascism that comes in the exploration of that game. And knowing that your players are going to be excited at exploring parts of that, even though in the real world it's horrifying, is really good to know, because then you know that they're going to be going into it with full force when they recognize that that content is going to be there, and they're not going to get horrible surprise when those kind of topics come up. They might be willing to explore it, but they might need a little bit of forewarning. Whew. So I've just rocketed through 3 tips to help you get more out of a session 0. Next campaign you plan, why not give it a try? If you have some of your own tips, why not write them down in the comments below? Or you can tweet me those tips yourself on Twitter. I know my Twitter. It is at PhantomArtsEnt, PhantomArtsEnt, and you can tell me all about how you would run a session 0. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'm sure I will see you all next time.